We're joined by Kevin McKeever, who was the chair of Burnham's 2015 leadership campaign. Good afternoon, Kevin.
Good afternoon.
So Andy Burnham's been quite clear that he wants to be more focused on domestic issues, and that's perfectly understandable. There's a lot of them. But do you think he'll be able to maintain that focus if and when he does become Prime Minister?
Well, I think he will. Look, Andy's clearly laid out in the piece in the Times this morning a message of continuity, really, in foreign policy. And that audience was aimed at Labour MPs, but also at foreign capitals. We have Jonathan Powell, the National Security Advisor, staying on at least for the short term. So it's no surprise, therefore, that there is continuity out of the next administration in line with the first one. After all, it is still a Labour government.
Yeah, and one of the challenges for him on the world stage is going to be Donald Trump. It's not the only challenge, and I think sometimes we obsess over the Trump relationship. In a way, I think Burnham's quite lucky because Starmer has already done the slight falling out with Trump. He's already had his Love Actually moment over Iran. And so I think Burnham can occupy what you might call the Emmanuel Macron lane a bit more easily, which is getting on with Trump. You're going to have to play ball with him, but he doesn't necessarily have to quite suck up to him in quite the same way. But it is going to be a challenge nonetheless. But Trump has said that Andy Burnham is mayor of a town. He's worried that he's extremely liberal. How do you think they'll get on? Do you think actually it may be the dog that doesn't bark and they'll sort of be fine? Or do you think this could end up, given how important our relationship is with the US, this could end up being a problem?
Well, I think it will be a significant relationship, as the relationship between a UK Prime Minister and US President always is. But let's look at the timing of this. When Keir Starmer had to deal initially with Donald Trump, he'd just been elected and taken up office for his new term as president. At the height of his power, the situation here in the US is very different from where it was then. Donald Trump also had his own domestic concerns to look at. So I would expect probably less drama in the UK-US relationship, and I'm sure Andy Burnham will handle it well, as will whoever his picked foreign secretary is, and of course continuity on National Security Advisor. I think we are rightly very focused on the US relationship, but Andy's made it very clear too he wants to have close relationships with the European Union. So I think we can probably look forward to a broader piece when it comes to priorities on the foreign policy front. Keir Starmer did a good job on the job as it was at the time, which was not falling out from day one with the Trump administration. Andy Burnham picks up the reins at a very different time in our country's bilateral relationship.
Yeah, and I think, as I said, I think Starmer's done quite a lot of the hard yards with Trump over the last 2 years. Where are you, by the way? I can see some nice sort of neoclassical American columns in the background on this video.
Yeah, it's a lovely morning here at Harvard in Massachusetts.
Lucky you. So, look, at the moment, Labour MPs are thrilled with Burnham, or if they're not, they're unlikely to go around telling people. But you know, we are in this funny interregnum moment, and obviously everyone wants a job and everyone wants the new project to succeed. Of course they do, if you're a Labour MP. But what happens when the hard decisions come, when the trade-offs come, when he realises that he needs to spend more on defence and make cuts to education or transport or health? At the moment, he can sort of seem like he can promise to do it all, but reality is rather different. What happens when people don't get the jobs they want and departments lose funding? I mean, how do you think the air could come out of the balloon quite quickly?
Well, I think Burnham will never be more powerful as he is on the day he walks into number 10. And I think the challenge is less in the substance. There will be difficult conversations. There may well be tough votes, but it's one really of communication and relationship with the Parliamentary Labour Party. Andy sent an email to all Labour MPs yesterday on the eve of the ballot opening, which you mentioned, where he said that he wanted to have a direct and constructive dialogue with backbenchers. He'd instruct the Cabinet to have them involved in policy conversations and legislation, and that crucially, something Keir Starmer didn't really do until the end, he'd be a presence on the ground in the Commons. He'd go through the voting lobbies with them. He'd be available for conversations. I think that's critical, actually. It's not just vibes. I think that's a substantial shift.
Starmer was notable from his absence in the tea rooms and in the division lobbies. Yeah. Look, Kevin, you know Burnham the man quite well. You've been out on the campaign with him. 2015 was a campaign he expected to win the Labour leadership that year and didn't. I've spoken to people who worked with him around that time, and they all like him. and think that he does have good vibes. But they have described him as he can be a bit impulsive, a bit wayward. He doesn't like being unpopular. I mean, you'll have heard all these critiques made. Do you think there's some validity to them?
I don't think it's a negative in having a politician and a prime minister that wants to be liked. He's a man that builds consensus. He's done that in Greater Manchester. He has a.
But you have to be willing. You have to be willing to be hated at times as well.
Well, perhaps it just comes with the job, but it also comes with building a strong team around you. And I think appointments like James Pennell's chief of staff signals it's not a one-man show. It's a team effort out of the new number 10, and that will help when it comes to relationships with the parliamentary party. What Andy does do is he sits and listens to everybody before he makes up his mind. He is a nice guy. You can have a drink with him as well as have a principled discussion where you don't agree on a policy outcome. And I think who he is in private on the campaign in 2015 or up in Makerfield is who he is with Labour MPs and who will be in public.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much for joining us. That was Kevin McKeever, who was the chair of Andy Burnham's failed 2015 campaign.